Alrighty, y'all. Welcome in to another edition of Biscuits and SEC. This is our 53rd show, I think. Kind of a shame that I missed the 52nd show, a.k.a. our 1-year anniversary, because I was out in the Elk Woods. But good to be back after a loaded Week 5. I think we learned a lot about the conference and some of the teams in it. As we turn, the calendar from September to October. So how you doing tonight, boss man?
I'm doing good. It's good to have you back. Thank you to Mike Huseman again about Off Season After Dark for filling in for us last week. We had a great time, too, with Gabe Bach. We're sorry we missed you for Gabe Bach, but Gabe and Easton had a lot of fun with them picking games last week. Got a good one this week as well with Steven, Mr. Stingray, an SEC legend. So looking forward to that, and a lot to talk about in terms of what we saw from Week 5 and first firing of the year in the SEC. So going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to Week 6. We got a lot of big games in and outside the SEC. So, man, we're in the swing of things now.
Absolutely. So before we hop in, of course, you see the link below. You know what that means. Please sign up for our bi-weekly right now newsletter Monday and Friday during the season. It's totally free. We just keep you up to date with all the goings on in the SEC. Try to make it funny, try to make it fun. And obviously it is free and always will be. So would appreciate your consideration there. Obviously, follow us on social media at Biscuits and SEC. Like the video, subscribe on YouTube. You know the drill. Before we hop into, I think the first thing we got on the Pittman rundown or the rundown is the Sam Pittman firing. But I did want to, just give an update from last week. I was out hunting with two friends of mine from A&M in Colorado. One of the guys had a bow tag, so myself and a friend tagged along, and I'll keep the story brief other than to say we kind of got our butts kicked. As you can see this picture on the right, we were getting snowed on, and we did this full on DIY, packed in, packs on our back, didn't have pack animals, didn't have a wall tent, didn't really have anything to stay that warm. So it was a tough elk hunt. We ended up seeing a total of 4, but never even came close to having a shot opportunity. So humbling experience. I walked a lot of miles with a pack on my back and didn't have a ton to show for it, but a good time nonetheless. In the mountains, backpacking with some longtime buddies. But good to be back.
Getting your butt kicked, I think, is the understatement of the century.
Exactly. We're trying to keep this, PG for all the kids out there. When it goes onto YouTube, you have to click the box. This is kid friendly. So, getting our tail kicked is what we'll say. And, you can shoot me a DM on the side if you want my real thoughts on what went down. But.
That's right. Yeah. The only thing I'll say on it is Hammer called me on Sunday to catch up and just talk a little bit more about how the elk hunt trip went. I didn't see any pictures, which I knew meant that they weren't able to drop one. But he told me the story, and when he mentioned it, he said that they had planned it all out. And I think you said it was 4 miles as the crow flies was the plan. And you were just going to be 4 miles straight in.
Yep.
So they were going to pack in to the campsite on the first night, 4 miles, and it ended up being 12 miles with all that stuff on their back, because they had to cut off the trail and go through a bunch of brush and debris and down trees and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, lots of lessons learned, I think, but fun nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. This was all of our 3 very first time attempting to do this. We were all greenhorns, and it showed, and we made a lot of mistakes. And that was one of them, thinking we were going to get to camp in 4 miles. And it took about 12 instead. So I wouldn't recommend going that far with a pack on your back. Either don't do that or get a pack animal, because that was pretty rough. But speaking of rough, the situation in Fayetteville got pretty gnarly over the weekend. Thankfully, I didn't schedule this elk hunt to do this, but I didn't actually miss any games. I left Sunday and returned Thursday, so I was able to see all the week 4 and week 5 action. which unfortunately included this game. We don't even really, I think, have to talk much about the actual game. Obviously, Notre Dame curb stomped Arkansas in Reynolds Razorback Stadium in front of the home crowd, and I think that was kind of the final nail in the coffin. Obviously, the stadium was empty at halftime. You got your big donors there calling your check saying, we're done. And so ultimately Pittman got fired. Got a little graphic here. Thanks for putting this together. So overall, he was 34-22. Struggled in the SEC though, 14 and 29. Did have that one bright year, 2021. He came in with a lot of hope. 2020 was his first season, and I think they ended up going 3-7, but competed, which was not something they had done under Chad Morris. So there were signs of life. And then 2021, 9 wins. Things were looking good. And then, I'm not quite sure what happened, but he never could find that success again, and ultimately, lost his job. What are your thoughts here on just Pittman, Arkansas moving forward, and the whole situation up there?
It's unfortunate. Off the top, when we've talked about Sam Pittman on the show, we love Sam Pittman. The guy just did it the right way. I mean, and also I'm really going to miss the fact he was a breath of fresh air, like zero coach speak. He would get up there behind the mic and he would tell you exactly what he was thinking. He was funny. He was, right there with a quip. I loved, watching him at the Hogs touchdown club. Like, I watched his whole speech at the touchdown club preseason, because it was funny. The guy's hilarious. And so I'm going to miss that. I do think, though, that it was time, and it was obvious that it was time after you saw what happened against Notre Dame. I mean, they couldn't, I've said this on other shows, they couldn't tackle your grandma walking across the street, right? And that showed up again against Notre Dame. It almost looked like an Air Bud movie, when Air Bud's gets the handoff and then he goes down the field, and all the, they're showing all these guys diving left and right, and they can't tackle Air Bud. Well, that's what it looked like against Notre Dame. As soon as anybody got into space, they couldn't tackle anybody. And that was the same problem they've had all year. I think also part of this is the up and down nature of it. 4-8 last season. This season, you're also looking across at Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, with a totally revamped roster, is looking really good. And not a lot of people thought they would, but they are looking very good this year. And there's word on the street. I mean, John Neighbors was reporting that, and I think this was reported from other sources as well. I think maybe Pete Nakos might have reported it. The roster at Arkansas cost $60 million this year. $60 million, and this is what it gets you. Like you said, I think the donors were calling and saying, enough is enough. We can't take this anymore. And while we might really like the guy and really appreciate a lot of the things that he's done for this program, I mean, for a second, let's just take a second to remember some of the big wins here. Sam Pittman delivered big wins at times for the Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, 2020, his first season, they beat Mississippi State, number 16. That ended a long streak of SEC losses straight. Then he beats Texas in 2021, blows Texas out in Vietnam at night. Awesome win. He beats Texas A&M, gets a top 10 win, I believe, that year as well. 2020, that breaks the long streak of Texas A&M losses, in that rivalry in the Southwest Classic. And then he beats Tennessee last year when no one thought they had a chance. Really probably saved his job with that win. So he delivered some really big, high moments for Hogs fans, high on the Hogs stuff, but then some really, really low moments as well. So it was the right time, I think, to make the move. I'll be interested to see who Arkansas goes out and gets. There's been a lot of talk about Rhett Lashley, who's an Arkansas alum, and he's done pretty well at SMU. Took him to the playoff last year. They're 2-2 this season, but there's a lot of rumblings about him, about him potentially coming back to Fayetteville. Bobby Petrino, obviously going to be in the mix as well. He's already stated, I want the job. And so we'll see how he can do. He clean house with the defensive staff already. So we'll see how he does going forward. But
yeah, no, I echo all that. I think it was time. It's unfortunate. Sam Pittman, absolute breath of fresh air. One of the things I admired about him as well, outside of just the the coach speak and the fact that he seemed like a very genuine guy. And that's been echoed by, people that covered the team and interacted with him, saying that he was a really nice guy. But there's something about, a coach that really loves and cares for the place that he's at, because we talk about it all the time, and you're about to see it, whether it's Rhett Lashley or somebody else. Most of the time, these guys are just mercenaries, and that's fine. I don't begrudge folks for that. It's the nature of the business. But for someone like him who really, really loved Arkansas, I mean, he said early on in his tenure, like, it's the last job. This is my last job. Whenever my time is up as the head coach of Arkansas, I'm done. This is the pinnacle for me. This is what I've wanted, and I'm going to coach here as long as I can. But I don't have any interest in going elsewhere. I'm not going to be the head coach anywhere else, type of thing. Which I just admired that, because I think, again, in this business, especially with the money and the power that comes along with it, most of the time these guys, that's not the case. They are there to coach and win football games, and they could kind of care less about the rest of it. And when it is college football and not the NFL, it's nice to see someone that really did care about the community, the university, and had a genuine love for it. So I don't know what his plans are. I imagine, although it ended on a sour note, he probably is going to stay in Fayetteville. I don't know if that means he gets a job in the athletic department somewhere, or if he just lives on the lake like a retired guy with a giant hog statue in his yard. But I assume, from Sam Pittman's perspective, he still loves Arkansas, and will probably be somewhat around that program.
I think so too. I think, like, after kind of the dust settles and people's emotions cool down a little bit, I think he'll be welcome around the Arkansas program for a long time to come. Doing speeches or talking to people around the university. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him, in the athletic department in some capacity, within the next couple of years. Because while it didn't work out in the end, and it was an unfortunate end to his tenure in Fayetteville, I think overall he's beloved in terms of all the things that we just said, right? Like how much he loved Fayetteville, how much he really did try to bring Arkansas back, and in some ways did, right? Early in his tenure, he got that program back to a respectability. And even last year, Arkansas, it was not long ago that Arkansas was not even close to winning 7 games a year. I mean, not even close, right? Like, after the Petrino era ended, it was a stretch of just desolation. It was a total desert there until Sam Pittman came back. So I know that Hogs fans, 7-6 isn't going to cut it, right? And they want to win more. And that program is a proud program, right? National championships, all that, Frank Broyles, they have the pedigree to be a real contender in the SEC, and they believe that they should be. And I respect that. I think Arkansas fans are right about that. But I do think that Sam Pittman is beloved enough around that program, and he made a lot of friends there, that I think he'll be around this program for a long time to come. And partly because of what I mentioned earlier, those big wins. I mean, there are some great memories from Arkansas fans that are attached to Sam Pittman. That Texas win, they'll never forget that one. A&M, beating A&M is always big. And then the Tennessee win last year, I mean, was just a magical night in Fayetteville. So I agree with you there. One thing that Mike Huseman here, our friend from Off Season After Dark, was with me last week. He said Lashley, as an alumni and a successful head coach, has to be called number one. I totally agree. And I think he's already been called. So there was a clip that came out today. He was asked about it in a press conference. And I want you all to judge just what you think. And we'll come out here on the other side of this clip and talk a little bit about it.
Where do you stand on that? How do you react when your name is in these rumors this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't stand anywhere on speculation and hypotheticals. So I'm happy. I've got a great job. I think when your name gets linked to jobs, it means your team has done well, the program has done well. So it's a compliment to what our staff and administration and players have built over the last 3+ years. And then a lot of times there's obvious connections. I mean, if it's your alma mater, it's easy to link names. But I haven't given it any thought because there hasn't been anything to give thought to. It's a great, fair question, but I'm really excited with what we're building here. I'm not discouraged at all by the fact that we're sitting here at 2-2. I think when you look at it, we've got a chance to go 1-0 in the league this year, which would be 9 straight conference games to start the ACC. I think what we've began to build is really fun, and what we can build is even more special. We got an excellent recruiting class that's freshmen right now. We got a top 25 recruiting class in 26, and a lot of guys on this roster that can come back. And so those are the guys that we're focused on. So, you just, until there's things to talk about, you don't talk about them. Internally, we haven't said a word about it because in my world, nothing's going on. Outside of the world, there's a lot of that speculation, and that's part of our business, and it's probably not going anywhere.
What is that? That's, I think, what they call a classic non-denial denial. A lot of coach speak in there. If you read the body language, I think there's some conversations happening in the background. Let's just say that. Whether or not Rhett Lashley is just looking to get an increase in salary from SMU, or if he's looking to head back to his alma mater and get, coach in the SEC, a conference that he has disparaged, by the way, over the last couple of years, which would be kind of funny. He would definitely get asked about that in an introductory press conference. But anyway, I'm reading the body language there, and I'm thinking that there's some stuff going on in the background. What about you?
Yeah, of course there's stuff going on in the background. I mean, as Mike Huseman pointed out, I mean, he's the first call, obviously, and he's saying what every coach does in that scenario, which is I'm not thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
But I am. What I think is very fascinating, and we can kind of end on this and get back to the games, but I'm fascinated, and I don't mean to put this out into the ether, Arkansas fans, but I'm fascinated to see if he takes that job, because if he doesn't, that's just not a good sign for Arkansas. It's his alma mater. I think it's probably a better job. I mean, it's at least a more prestigious job because it's in the SEC and you're going to be playing big time games. But in terms of a path to the playoff or just sustained success, SMU has money. They're in the ACC. That's not a very difficult league. And I don't know what his salary is. It's a private school. I guarantee you he's paid handsomely. So Arkansas can pay. So can SMU. And, just again, it's a very interesting thought exercise, because career-wise, it would be really hard to use a Bear Bryant-ism, not take mama's call and go home. But look at the history of Arkansas. Every coach that goes there, 4 or 5 years, done. And if you're Rhett Lashley, he has done a good job at SMU. He probably believes in what he could build there. And that's a place he could probably stay for 10 to 15 years and have 8, 9, 10 win seasons pretty much every year. And I maybe he thinks he can get that at Arkansas. And as you brought up, Arkansas fans think that. I'm not saying that's not possible. It's not the track record. So he would be, kind of the first in the modern era to pull that off. So just something interesting to think about.
Definitely. If it's not Rhett Lashley, I think there's somebody else who would be happy to take a comped motorcycle from the athletic department and ride on for another few years in Fayetteville.
Yeah, he would. And that's a conversation for an off-season podcast, because that is all I will say on Bobby P is he's a snake, and he used to be able to coach football. He can still coach offense. Based on his last couple head coaching stops, I don't know that he would be the wise choice. But he's got the job now, right? So if he goes out and wins a bunch of ball games and they hire him, I would not begrudge a 100-year check in Arkansas for doing that, especially given the familiarity there. And he'll probably have the backing of the fan base. Again, especially if he can win a few ball games this season and salvage whatever is left. Well, anyway, let's get into some games. We're already 20 minutes in. We got to start talking some games. So we'll start with the big one. Bama takes down Georgia on the road, 24-21. Kirby moves to 1-7 against Alabama, 0-2 against DeBoer. What are your takeaways from this one?
Our friend Rivers Huey said it a couple weeks ago. DeBoer in the black hoodie. Don't bet against the Tide. And he walked out in that black hoodie, and the Tide get the win. They walk out of Athens with the W. So I was impressed with a couple things. One, Alabama's resiliency from FSU. The FSU game, everybody left him for dead. I mean, we had the graphic. Where is it? I posted this on Twitter. Alabama Dynasty's dead. I proclaimed it on our show right after FSU. And, you know, I still think there's probably a little bit of truth to that. You know what I mean? But in the end, Alabama, they came back. They did what they were supposed to do against multiple, lesser opponents. And then coming into Georgia, you're thinking, okay, we'll see what happens. This is a big, big test for them, especially on the road at night against Georgia. And Ty Simpson looks great. He looks like he's started to figure it out. DeBoer and Grubb had a great game plan. And then on the other side, I was impressed with Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense in the second half clamps down and doesn't allow another point for the Tide in the second half. But on offense, they're just not able to get it done. Kirby made a questionable call there to go for it instead of kicking the field goal late in the game. But the other part was that Georgia also found their running game, over 200 yards rushing. I was impressed with that. So I know that's a loss for Georgia fans here. Bama fans, I think you got to be really excited about where you're at now. And I think this Florida State loss, you can put it behind you. I think, 11-1, 10-2, all that stuff is all out in front of you still. You got to be thinking, college football playoff for sure now. Georgia on the other side, I know it's a loss. I know you're sick of losing Alabama, but there's a lot of encouraging things that you can take from this game that make you think that, okay, Georgia is going to be in every game that they play. This may not be a juggernaut Georgia of old, but they should be in the college football playoff conversation, I think, all year. So those are my takeaways.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think, I'll start with Georgia and then give Bama their flowers. I think Georgia's going to be fine. Like you said, they were right in this game. I think, I don't know what it is, but we saw this last year, obviously, too. It feels like, for whatever reason, coming into these games, DeBoer, especially now that he's teamed back up with Grubb, has a really, really, really good plan and read on Kirby and that defense, and they come out firing, and then Kirby figures it out. So, that's a chess match that is well above my football knowledge. So I'm just going to say that I think that's something over time Kirby will figure out. And obviously he's done it in both games where they've clamped down in the second half. So I think that's just kind of a nitpicky thing where they can't get off to those slow starts. They did it against Tennessee. They were able to come back. They did it against Bama and weren't quite able to come back. I like the running game that they found. And, again, from the Georgia side, like you said, they were down there at the end of the game or late in the fourth and opted to go for it. I have no problem with that call in that moment. It just, the play got blown up, and you roll the dice, you take your chances. They also had a touchdown dropped. Gunnar Stockton put it on a dime, and they dropped it. And Bama had a drop touchdown too with Ryan Williams. So it all evens out. I'm just pointing out the fact that 50% of the time, Georgia wins this ball game. I mean, it was a total coin flip. Bama comes out on top at this junction. But I don't think, the 1-7 against Bama is a wild stat, but it doesn't feel to me like there's some sort of mountain that Georgia's not going to be able to climb, in years to come, or even later this year should they meet again. And then on the Bama side, I really want to highlight Ty Simpson, because he right now is the best quarterback in the SEC, maybe the country. I know there's, Dante Moore, there's some guys out there that are playing good ball, but Ty Simpson hasn't turned the ball over yet. In this game, 24 of 38, 276 yards, 3 total touchdowns, two through the air, 1 with his legs. To do that on the road against a team that hasn't lost at home since 2019 is impressive. And again, he's an old quarterback. He's been in college a long time, but that's his second road start. So to put those numbers up and then to hammer it home, 13 of 19 on third down. And that's not all Ty Simpson, unless I'm mistaken. I'm sure they ran, for maybe a couple of those, but generally speaking, Bama didn't run the ball well. So a lot of that was on Ty Simpson. And again, to go 13 of 19 against Georgia on the road at night is extremely impressive. He just feels like, to me, a guy who has command of that offense, and is a strong team leader. So definitely something to go back to your point about the dynasty being over, which I think is probably true. But the Ty Simpson pick is looking pretty good because if you can go do that on the road in Athens, then where are you going to struggle the rest of the way? It doesn't mean you're going to win all your games, but it means Simpson's probably going to play well.
Yeah, I love what I'm seeing by Simpson here. So going forward, Bama fans got to be excited.
Yeah, they do. Speaking of excited, Ole Miss exacts revenge on LSU for what happened a year ago in Tiger Stadium. This one kind of sneaky close, similar in some ways to the A&M Auburn game where Ole Miss had a ton of penalties, was kind of shooting themselves in the foot, lost the turnover battle. But, man, in watching this game, you just never felt this result was in doubt. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss has another big game. He goes 23 of 39, 314 yards, touchdown, and a pick, along with 71 yards rushing. If you had told me at the beginning of the year, Trinidad Chambliss, the transfer from Ferris State, would be the better quarterback in the Ole Miss LSU game, I would have looked at you like you had three heads because A, who is this guy? And B, Garrett Nussmeier was supposed to be this great player. And I don't know if it's the, oblique or ab injury that has gotten some run lately, but that LSU offense looks terrible. And, again, I hate to do this, but you and I talked a lot about LSU preseason, as did everyone else. And my biggest concern with them was they're replacing 4 offensive linemen and they couldn't run the ball last year. Why is it going to be different? And it hasn't been. And Brian Kelly's screaming in press conferences about it. He's mad. They know, everyone knows, and they still can't run the ball. So to me, that's where this game is lost. The LSU defense played pretty solid. Don't have an issue with them. They figured out that side of the ball, but they still can't run the ball. And whether it's the Nussmeier injury or the weapons, maybe just not panning out on the outside, I don't know. But the offense is terrible right now. And I think it starts with the run and again, potentially the fact that Nussmeier's a little hurt and he can't shoulder that burden.
Yeah. What do you point to? I mean, there's so many things you just laid out. I mean, how many different points? Like, it's not like it's just one, okay, they can't run the ball, but they're passing the ball pretty well. No, it's like this whole offense is discombobulated. What is going on in Baton Rouge? And LSU fans are getting really fed up. I mean, they got flat out coached in this game across the board. They got out coached. Lane Kiffin out coached them. You had Pete Golding out coaching Sloan on the offensive side for LSU. Pete Golding just continues to be one of the better, probably one of the best defensive coordinators in the SEC. And Ole Miss, they were the better team. And the only thing that LSU could hang their hat on was defense. And they played pretty well. They had a pick six called back. It was pass interference for sure. But 24 points, you hold Ole Miss, this Ole Miss team who has been scoring points like crazy, to 24 points, you should win that freaking game. Yeah. What is going on? You got Garrett Nussmeier, you got all these weapons, you got Caden Durham in the backfield. How are you not winning this game? This is not LSU. That program wins games like this. And to lose a game 24-19 on the road and get completely outcoached and have your offense look that bad, man, it's a mess in Baton Rouge. And preseason, I think I picked them to go to the playoff. You picked them to go 8-4, and you were like, I'm just not sold on these guys. And a lot of what I was looking at was based on Garrett Nussmeier and those weapons that they've got on the outside. Just thinking, based on what he did last year through the air, other than the times that he was under pressure, you got to think that he's going to be able to do that again this year. I do think that there's something with the injury going on just a little bit. I mean, at first they were saying there was no injury. Now Brian Kelly's saying there is somewhat of an injury. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier after the game was like, I'm not talking about it. And now they're trying to say that there is something going on. So I really don't know what to believe, but it kind of doesn't matter. Like, something has to get figured out here. They have to figure out how to run the ball. And otherwise, I think, this season is going to be another wash. And if they go 8-3 or 8-4 and miss the playoffs, man, the temperature is going to turn up like crazy in Baton Rouge.
Oh, it absolutely is. And just to take a look at their schedule, Obviously, that's their first loss. So if they're going to go 8-4, they got to lose a lot more ball games. But you just look down the schedule here, based on how they have played. South Carolina is losable, probably not at home, but it's certainly losable. Vanderbilt on the road, certainly losable. A&M at home, losable. At Alabama, losable. I'm going to say Arkansas is a win, but maybe Bobby P revives them. I don't know. But then that road game at the end of the year at Oklahoma is very losable. So, it's typical SEC schedule. It's not going to get any easier. And like you said, they have to figure out something on offense, because we've seen enough from the defense to know that they'll be in these ball games. It's just a matter of, can you can you either hold your opponents to 10 points like you did against Florida, or can you score more than 19? And, again, like these teams have good defenses. So they're not going to hand LSU 30 points. They're going to have to go out there and earn it. And based on what we've seen, doesn't look like they can earn it right now. So, a lot of things need to be corrected there. Speaking of a lot of things needing to be corrected, both of these teams could say that, but obviously our alma mater, A&M, got the win. We talked about this, of course, at length, Saturday night, Sunday morning after the game, just you and I. And I think A&M has a lot to clean up. We talked about it, the penalties, the turnover was bad, but all things aside, they've now won back-to-back games on the road at Notre Dame, scoring 41 points in a shootout that they would have never won, under the previous regime. And then same thing, they have a home game where they completely lay an egg in terms of their discipline, their performance, and they allow a team to hang around, but they pull it out and win. So plenty to be corrected, but the fact that A&M went 2-0 in those games and is winning games that under, Fisher, Sumlin, take it all the way back to I'm drawing a Sherman, like those are games they lose and they're winning them now. So what does that mean moving forward? They have a lot to correct, but they have a tough mentality, and they're responding well. On the Auburn side, golly, you talk about looking lost on offense. I don't know what Hugh Freeze is doing. They're not running the ball well. They certainly can't throw the ball. They look lost. You talk about getting out coached. I mean, A&M's defensive staff just completely put Auburn in a blender. Was all over Jackson Arnold all day. The receivers, I mean, they basically just doubled Cam Coleman and were like, show us you got somebody else can beat us, right? Yeah, we got a safety high and we're going to, play man. And Auburn had no answer, which is crazy, but they had no answer.
No, they didn't. I watched a great breakdown. Aaron Murray, if you go over and check out stuff on YouTube from Aaron Murray, he does a great breakdown every week. And he kind of goes through, he talks about quarterback play, but breaks down film as well. On just, okay, what are they seeing? Like, why did it go this way? Why did this quarterback play great this week? Why did he play bad this week? That sort of thing. And he broke it down with Jackson Arnold and the Auburn offense in this game. And he was very frustrated. He kept pointing this out over and over again. There was two main things that were happening with Auburn. The first thing was on the offensive line. They were doing slide protection, constantly doing slide protection. And he pointed out, play after play after play, where A&M had a free rusher, but Auburn had a man on the offensive line who's not blocking anybody because they're slide protected. The protections are off. They're not in sync on the protections. And you saw that all day with A&M. A&M, speeding Jackson Arnold up because they got a free man coming when you got your guy on the other side of the line who is in the middle and he's blocking nobody, right? And one guy's got two guys, so the offensive line's a mess right now. They can't figure it out. And then the second thing that was going on that he pointed out, which I noticed during the game, is Jackson Arnold is also holding the ball too long. Like his timing is all off. Partly, I think that's because of the offensive line and the issues. His timing is all off. But then not only that, you saw them do a ton of speed outs and rollouts to try to get Jackson Arnold some time. When he had that, he's not going through his progressions quick enough. He's not getting the ball out quick enough. Somebody's coming off on a hook, and that ball needs to be out before he goes in and turns around, right? Well, the ball's coming out late. And that happened play after play after play on these different – and then, Cam Coleman. He does hit Cam Coleman on one for, could be an 8-yard gain, and Cam Coleman drops the ball. So it's a total mess over there. Mike Elko's calling a great game on defense. Torian York played out of his mind. for Texas A&M. He's one of the best linebackers in the country. On the A&M side, frankly, this game for Aggies, it was extremely frustrating to watch. There was, I think, 23 total penalties in this game, which was absolutely ridiculous. Auburn had 10. A&M had 13 for over 100 yards. You want to know why this game was close? That's why. They had a touchdown called off the board. Armaj Reed Adams was 5 yards upfield. That's a senior offensive lineman. He shouldn't be making those mistakes. So discipline is a big, big issue for A&M going forward. They have to get that fixed, or they are going to drop some of these games. They absolutely could drop a game this coming week to Mississippi State if they continue to make those mistakes. Should have been 30-3 at least. And the offense just kind of they I mean, you look at the box score, they had over 400 yards of offense. This offense was humming. Le'Veon Moss played very well. If A&M can beat you in a multifaceted offense, multiple ways. You want to take away our passing attack? We're going to hand it off to Le'Veon Moss. He's going to go for 150. You want to take away Le'Veon Moss? We're going to throw it to Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion on the outside. We're going to take some deep shots, and we're going to beat you. So this A&M team is very formidable. They just got to clean up some of those penalties and some of those mistakes and hit a couple more of those deep shots. I mean, again, yet again, Marcel Reed has a deep shot that he should hit and missed another one. So A&M's, but they're winning these games, which, like you said, Mike Elko in this era, it's all about the grit. And it seems like the mentality in these types of games, which A&M has historically lost so far this year, it looks like they've gotten that figured out.
Yeah, they have. And, I mean, just to take it back to what we were just saying about LSU, the reason coming into the season, outside of the fact that I went to A&M and drink the Kool-Aid every offseason, but one of the reasons I believed in them was they have a veteran offensive line. And they made a lot of mistakes in this game, but A&M has proven now, even against Notre Dame, they can run the ball. Yeah. And that helps their offense tremendously. And so far, Marcel Reed has really not been a factor on the ground, which kind of surprises me, but it hasn't been, and so, like you said, they are able to beat you in multiple ways. So it just makes it that much harder on a defense to game plan. And I thought Auburn's defense played well. Obviously, a lot of that was self-inflicted wounds on A&M, having over 400 yards and finishing with 16 points. But Auburn's got a pretty solid defense. They just, on offense, they are, I wouldn't even say one-dimensional. They're no-dimensional right now. They don't run the ball well. They don't pass the ball well. Again, I'm not in practice. I don't know what's going on, but it looks like they're coming into these games with a pretty poor plan, if I had to guess. And they don't really have an answer. And maybe that's just personnel. Maybe they don't have the guys to actually, come up with an answer. It doesn't exist. But so far, I know the Oklahoma game, there was a lot of controversy, and y'all touched on that last week, but still, man, I know you're going on the road in the SEC, but you put up 17 and 10 points. Like, of course you're 0-2 in the SEC. Like, and Hugh Freeze is an offensive guy. Where did it go?
I think he's next on the chopping block. If he can't get it figured out, the fans in Auburn on the Plains, man, they're getting real, real antsy, and rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. And again, just like everybody else, doesn't get any easier. You get a bye week, then you host Georgia. I mean, it's in Jordan-Hare, so things will get wacky, but I don't like the odds there. Missouri, again, in Jordan-Hare, but Missouri looks really good.
Yep.
Vanderbilt on the road, that's an auto loss because Diego Pavia owns Hugh Freeze. And then you close out with the Iron Bowl. So, again, I mean, that's 4 games right there that could easily not go your way. And you're looking at 6-6. And that doesn't even mention Arkansas, Kentucky, which, I think Auburn should win, but I don't think Auburn is in a position to be looking at any conference game and saying that's an automatic dub. So,
nope.
Yeah, really, really tough situation in Auburn. On the flip side, it's a tough loss for Mississippi State, but we brought up Levy. He's doing great things. Not a tough situation in Starkville. He seems to have gotten some things figured out. Tennessee in this one, I don't have a ton. I didn't get as many eyes on this game, just given everything that was going on. But I give credit to Tennessee for figuring out a way to win this one on the road in a hostile environment when they did not have their A game. But it took 2 defensive scores to pull this out, and that ain't happening every week. So they need to get some things figured out on their side. But again, give them credit for that late drive. Aguilar, was nails down the stretch to get that tying touchdown with, I think it was under a minute or, minute and a half left, push it to overtime. But takeaways from this game, obviously Tennessee escapes with a win and you move on, and then Mississippi State, that one hurt.
Yeah, we don't have to spend too much time on this one or on Kentucky and South Carolina, because we got to get to Steven, to old Stingray. But the biggest thing to me is that, Tennessee figured out a way to get a win on the road and in a tough environment. Mississippi State, we can say it now, Mississippi State is not a bad team. Like, this is a team that you look down the schedule in the preseason, you're like, win, right? Not anymore. This team is not a team to overlook. And to me, it was more about Mississippi State than it was about Tennessee. Like, I think Tennessee's a good football team, and they showed it again. They figured out a way to get a win, tough win on the road in the SEC. But on the flip side, Mississippi State pushed them to the limit. Mississippi State had their chances to win this game, and really, and they should have pulled it out, right? 2 defensive touchdowns. You take one of those off the board, you get one stop when you need it, you could win this game. So I was impressed more with Mississippi State than I was thinking that this was like something bad about Tennessee. So looking forward, going forward to this game in College Station this weekend, Operation Blackout in Kyle Field. I'm not overlooking Mississippi State. Mississippi State has been a thorn in A&M's side, and this is a very good football team. And Jeff Levy's a heck of a coach for what he's done in Starkville. And just 3-9 last year, and to be looking at what they are right now, 4-1, and a solid football team with all the new faces that they have, it's extraordinarily impressive. So a lot more about Mississippi State being actually good versus Tennessee not playing very well and not being a good football team. That was my main takeaway from this one.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right read. Let's go ahead and get to Stingray. That South Carolina game, similar, 2 defensive touchdowns for the Gamecocks, got the win. I would say that the Gamecock offense is still a work in progress. Lenore Sellers, again, has a few highlight plays, but over the course of 4 quarters, there's just inconsistencies there. I'm still not sold on the Mike Shula hire at OC, but obviously, you get a 35-13 win. Kentucky's a disaster. Cutter Boley, 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to put it all on him because I don't think their offense overall is very good, but they look like a disaster. So good win for South Carolina. Shane Beamer, I don't know if you saw that post game. He got the Beamer ball comment in there, and he keeps receipts. So if you want to trash talk Shane Beamer, do it at your own risk. He'll call you out the second he gets a chance. But good for South Carolina after an 0-2 conference play start to get back on in the win column. So we guest picker this week, Stephen Stingray Ray at Stephen Ray 30. Long time, SEC guy, rose to fame. Gosh, a long time ago. Tosh Point oh, he's been around the block. Great guy. Yeah, Finebaum. He's an awesome dude. He hosts a show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, and we'll go over all that in the interview. But we pre-recorded due to some scheduling conflicts, so we'll go ahead and pop that on now. And y'all can listen to his picks.
And we'll see you guys after. We got a Muschamp Coach of the Week and a Biscuit of the Week. So we'll go a little bit more free football here from Biscuits and SEC, but here is the picks from Stingray.
Stephen Ray at Stephen Ray 30 on Twitter, joining us for our guest picker segment this week, coming off a wild week 5 in the SEC. We've got plenty to get to in week 6. So Stephen, thanks for joining us. How you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic. I just hate that we're already into week 6 of college football.
It's going by fast, man. And every year it feels like that. It's like you get into the season, you're so excited. There's such a long off season, and then boom, you blink and it's week 6.
Yep, that's correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. We blink and it's week 6. It's already October. So like I said, we've got a lot to get to tonight. Just an update on our picker standings. So far, Rivers Huey and Gabe Bach in the lead at 4-2. Cruz, Oxenrider, and Eastonbach sitting there at 3-3, and then Daily Joy, unfortunately, bringing up the rear at 2-4. So Steven, Stingray, we'll probably refer to you as those interchangeably throughout our segment here, but hopefully you can, rise to the top there. There's 5-1, 6-0 is certainly on the table. I know you are a SEC expert. Unfortunately, we have a couple of out-of-conference games we have to pick this week due to the lighter SEC slate. So excited to hop into it and see how you do on the picks. Before we get into that, we know you've got allegiances to Mississippi State and Alabama. You host a radio show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa, 5 days a week. So I think it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 to 7, and then Wednesday, 7:30 to 8:30. So obviously all of y'all that are local to Tuscaloosa, if you don't know, I'm sure you do, but if you don't, be sure to tune in to Tide 100.9 for the Stingray Show every single day of the week. So on that note, I just wanted to ask, you're in that market. Alabama gets a big win last week against Georgia. It's been a bit of an up and down season thus far with the opening week 1 loss to FSU. Give us a sense of how Alabama fans are feeling, what your thoughts are on the team moving forward, and just, a little bit of a pulse update coming out of Tuscaloosa.
Well, they're all happy based off of, getting Kirby Smart being 1 of 7 against Alabama. There's that record again. And everybody's talking about, Alabama's your daddy and all that stuff. But when you break down the football game, Alabama, and the reason that Georgia was able to keep it close, 33 rushing attempts for Georgia for 227 yards. Once again, Alabama cannot stop the run at the point of attack. And eventually, if they do not fix it, that will come back to bite them again. I mean, when was the last time that we saw an Alabama defense give up almost 230 yards rushing to a football team? That kept Georgia in the football game. And here's another glaring stat. In the second half at Georgia, Alabama's offense put up 0 points in the second half. That's a major issue moving forward. Yes, it was a big win, but Alabama got a big win last year against Georgia, and then here comes Vanderbilt. They go up on the road to Nashville last year, and they had an embarrassing performance against Diego Pavia. He ran all over that defense, and here they come again, and Alabama cannot stop the run.
True. So it sounds like you said, everybody's happy. They get the win against Kirby, but in typical Alabama fashion, there are causes for concern, and the fan base is acutely aware of the Tide's shortcomings. So we'll see how. I think, like you said, we'll see this week how they respond, because not only
let me also add this too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but okay. Ryan Williams is having a year 2 slump, just like we've seen with a lot of players. Get this, through 5 games this season, he has 14 drops. 14 drops. That is uncharacteristic of a guy in Ryan Williams. He has got to be able to catch the football more.
He's looking at his nails in front of him. He's got to stop doing that. He's just got to catch the football.
I'm not going there, but I mean, you got to catch the ball, man.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if anybody's run on Bama since, I don't know, I think it was the Georgia State game or whatever it was years ago. The stuff through a tin horn game when Nick Saban came. That is my favorite quote from Nick Saban. I love that one. So it's been a long time since we've seen anybody run on the Tide like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's glaring. And then, of course, like I talked about, no points in the second half, again, against Georgia. And here comes Vanderbilt. And then don't sleep on that Missouri trip next weekend. So, Alabama's got some issues that they've really got to figure out.
Absolutely. Well, I love the update on the Alabama fan base and the Tide. We'll see. Like we said, they've got a big one this week with Vanderbilt coming to town. But let's hop into our picks.
Okay.
We'll get to that Vanderbilt game in a few, but we'll start back in Athens. So we've got, speaking of teams with some issues, Kentucky seems to really be struggling right now. They head to Georgia as 21.5-point underdogs. Do you think there is a path for Kentucky to keep this one close and cover 21.5, or do you think Georgia and angry Kirby Smart exact revenge and get the win and cover? What's your read on this one?
Georgia, I think, covers. Now, usually in the past, Mark Stoops has it figured out on how to keep it close with Georgia. I don't think they have the athletes this season. I think that the NIL and the transfer portal has really hurt this Kentucky program, and especially what Mark Stoops like to do. Give me Georgia to cover.
Got it. Yeah, I think we'll give our picks on our show tomorrow night, SEC After Dark officially. But I like where your head is at in that one. Boss man, you want to intro our next game here, the Texas and Florida game?
Yeah, so this one's an interesting game. I mean, hey, everybody's leaving Florida for dead. Everyone thinks that Billy Napier is finished. They thought probably he might be the first coach fired in the SEC. We see Sam Pittman is now the first coach fired this season in the SEC. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts because Texas, on the other side, they've had their issues early this season. I mean, the Ohio State game was ugly for Arch. The next few games against lesser opponents really didn't look like Arch had taken much of a step. Then you get, the other week, I think they got a bye week, and then the week before was Sam Houston, who they blow out like 55-0. But I don't think we can take a lot away from that. Sam Houston is one of the worst teams in FBS, 0-4. In fact, they were in Ryan McGee's bottom 10 just today. I was reading that. So I'm not sure really what to think of this Texas team, which is why I think that line is there at 7.5 because Texas has to go to the Swamp. So what are you thinking in this one?
Man, I got to go with Florida to cover here because Florida does have a good defense, and they held their own against LSU. Now, let's throw out the Miami game because Miami is on another level, and they arguably could be the best team in the country right now. And plus, we've heard a lot of chatter about DJ Lagway talking about the offense is this close to clicking and that they're really going to work in this off week about getting it to click and all that stuff. And I'm not ready to throw in the towel just yet on Billy Napier. We saw him with his back against the wall last year, and we all saw what he did towards the end of the season. I still think Florida has enough talent to make this game close. I think that they will cover the spread there. I think they lose, but I ultimately think that they give Florida fans a little bit of some promise moving forward in this game. I think Texas has the better athletes, but I think with the offensive issues with Arch Manning and Steve Sarkisian early this year, I think Florida is able to keep it close.
That's
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's going against the grain here. Most in the national media are going to be saying, Texas, they'll be back. Don't worry about them. But I'm with you. It's not easy.
No.
Going into the Swamp is never easy.
No.
And this is just an interesting game. Stephen, you brought up you're not quite ready to throw in the towel on Napier. And what I find interesting about this game is so far, both of these teams, to me, are very similar. The main difference is the schedule, right? Both teams defensively are very good, have played very well. Offensively, they have two younger quarterbacks who came into the season with a lot of hype and have struggled. The problem is Florida has played, you mentioned Florida has played Miami, LSU,
yep.
USF, who they shouldn't have lost that game, but two very big games, whereas Texas has only played Ohio State and they happened to lose that game. So, if these schedules were flipped, Texas could very well be sitting in the position of Florida where their fan base is melting down and they're wondering what the future holds for Arch, whereas Texas has just had an easier schedule up to this point and has been able to win games that thankfully for a cupcake schedule. But I agree. I think going on the road will be a big test for Arch in this one.
And let me also add this as well. We know that DJ Lagway had injury issues in the spring and in the summer, which limited him in practice. Is there an injury issue with Arch Manning? Because when Sark was asked that, it really touched a nerve with him. You have to think that there could be a little bit of an injury issue with Arch.
Yeah, very true. Well, let's head back to Tuscaloosa. We talked a little bit about this game at the outset here, but obviously, the storylines abound in this one with Diego Pavia talking a lot of smack. Of course, last year he backed it up, but this game is on the road, in Tuscaloosa this year for Vanderbilt. And, say what you want about what happened last year, and all the credit should go to Vanderbilt, but I do think there's an element of Alabama overlooking them, which I can't imagine that will be the case this year, given what transpired a year ago. So with Alabama, knowing that Vanderbilt is coming in to win and is capable of beating them, they are 13.5-point favorites at home. How do you see this one going?
I'll take Vanderbilt and the points here. I think they lose, but I think Vanderbilt covers. I think that Vanderbilt has not faced on the cornerback position a bunch of wide receivers like Alabama can throw at them. I'm concerned about the passing game of Alabama. I think that Vanderbilt can keep it close because they can run the football on Alabama, but I don't think that Vanderbilt can necessarily stop Alabama's passing game. That's why I'm going with Alabama. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see Vanderbilt go to 6-0 for the first time since 1928, but I don't think it happens this weekend.
Yeah, you bring up the Alabama passing game. I think, it's interesting to me. Like you mentioned, they have multiple guys on the outside with Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton that they can throw at you. But Ty Simpson really took a step, in my view, in that Georgia game and had command of the offense, especially in the first half. And I didn't even realize, I knew Ryan Williams had drop issues, but the fact that he's dropped 14 balls thus far this season almost makes Ty Simpson's stat line look even more heroic thus far, because if you're let's just say you catch 10 of those balls, I mean, Lord knows what his completion percentage and touchdowns would be.
Absolutely. So yeah, I like Vanderbilt to cover. I think it's closer than the 13.5, but playing Alabama here in Tuscaloosa, that's a very daunting task.
It is. Boss man, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. Let's give it an intro.
Man, this is a tough one. I mean, coming into this year, you would think that, okay, A&M probably a win on this on the schedule, right? Especially if you're an Aggie fan. You're looking down the schedule and you're like, okay, W, right? I don't know about that anymore. Mississippi State, it looks like a much improved team. I am extremely impressed with what Jeff Lebby has done thus far, because we know that they've got, 50, 60 new faces on this roster. It's almost completely overhauled. And yet they beat number 12 Arizona State at home. They pushed Tennessee to the limit in Starkville as well. So now it's a little bit different, though. They have to go on the road. They got to go to Kyle Field. Going to be a difficult environment. A&M's doing the whole Operation Blackout thing, black jerseys, black field. A&M has some momentum. And now it didn't look so pretty against Auburn last week, but at the same time, you're 4-0 for the first time since 2016. They haven't put it all together just yet with the offense playing a great game and the defense. It's usually one or the other so far. So what are your thoughts on this game? Do you think Mississippi State has a chance? I'm interested to hear what you think, because this is a fascinating game, and that 12.5 line is, man, that's a tweener. What a tough one to pick.
Do you guys know that for the first 5 weeks of the season, Mississippi State has covered every single line, and I expect them to do that again this weekend. However, I think Texas A&M has the better athletes. Mississippi State had a very tough time defending Tennessee's passing game last week. I think A&M's passing game is a lot better with Mario Craver, a former Mississippi State wide receiver, and Concepcion from NC State. I will take A&M, but I think Mississippi State covers in this game. I think you're going to have Marcel Reed and throw some interceptions, or maybe even a couple of fumbles, or a special teams touchdown here or there for Mississippi State to win. I think if A&M plays a clean game, Mississippi State plays a clean game, A&M wins. They're going to have a few turnovers to help them.
That's a key point you made, a clean game, because last week against Auburn, the Aggies had 13 penalties for over 100 yards.
That was rough.
It was rough. It felt like every other play. I mean, watching that game was brutal, right? I mean, hey, we went to A&M, and so we were happy with the win. But at the end of the day, Auburn had 10 penalties too. So it felt like it was a flag on every other play, and just, tough. It's always tough to watch it when there's so many flags on the field. But, I mean, most of them, I'm not even hating on the refs. I think they actually called, for the most part, a very, good game. There were a lot of penalties out there, and both teams committed a lot of penalties. So A&M's got to clean that up this week.
But I will say this, though. Texas A&M is known to drop a game or two that they're not supposed to. And you know that they've been known as Texas 8-4, because they get these big wins and they get these high expectations, and then they facepalm. Would this not be Texas A&M, just a story for them to lose to Mississippi State this weekend?
That's right. By the way, and I'm sure you're aware of this, since A&M came into the SEC, this series is totally tied.
Yep,
All time it's tied, 9-9, which with all the resources at Texas A&M and the recruiting and all of that stuff, it shouldn't be 9-9. Right. A&M fans feel that way. And so Mississippi State has been, we got it right down there, a thorn in the side of Texas A&M since they came into the conference. Nick Fitzgerald was, absolutely a thorn in the side. Dan Mullen had their number, so it could well happen again.
Yeah, I believe so, but I think based off of Marcel Reed and the wide receivers, I think both of those are too much for Mississippi State, and you've got to also consider Le'Veon Moss, the running back there for Texas A&M.
Yeah, he does seem to be, finding his stride in the last couple of games here with some more carries, and he looks good. And to give credit to Levy and Mississippi State on the roster overhaul, the state run game looks good. Bothwell can run the ball. I mean, they're a physical team.
And, I will also say this. I don't think that I have ever seen a more improved defense than what I've seen from Mississippi State last year to Mississippi State this year. It is like night and day difference, because last year you could just line up and just pound the football every single play, and there would be no way that Mississippi State could stop you. Now you've got to get creative to move the ball on this Mississippi State defense.
Absolutely. Well, that will conclude, unfortunately, our SEC picks. We got two more games left, but given the lighter slate this week, we're not going to pick the Oklahoma-Kent State game. I think that spread is well over 40 points, and there's really no skill in that.
No.
So we'll head over. We've got two more games to pick. The first one I wanted to get your thoughts on is the Texas Tech and Houston game out of the Big 12. So Tech looks good so far this year, coming off a big win at Utah. And then, Houston, Willie Fritz, former Tulane coach, good coach, has the former Aggie quarterback, Connor Wigman, leading the charge at Houston. They're 4-0. So two unbeaten teams in the Big 12 squaring off. Texas Tech is a 10.5-point favorite. What are you looking for in this game?
Texas Tech, take the points. I like them, and I think they're going to roll, and I think that they are a lock for the college football playoff.
Love it. All right. Heard it here first.
Baby.
That's right. Stingray says Texas Tech is a lock. Do you think so? Get your guns up. Yeah. Do you think that means they win the Big 12? I assume. So they'll get the auto bid. Okay. Yeah.
I think it's them and Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, and I think they win.
Love it. Well, hey, that would be a great story, and it would be good for Texas Tech. Like the graphic down below here says the money is paying off, and if they got to the playoff, then that's what they spent all that money for. So hopefully they can happen. All right, Boss Man, give us our last game preview here.
Yeah. So Miami and FSU. This is a fascinating one. This has been such a big rivalry for so many years. The 90s, the early 2000s. You had wide right, wide left, all that stuff. It's a great rivalry in college football, and now it has a lot more meaning. It would have had a lot more meaning had Florida State beaten the University of Virginia on Friday, but all of us saw that. What an incredible scene that was in Charlottesville. And so FSU coming off that loss, they're kind of in wounded animal mode, back against the wall a little bit. Miami has to come into Tallahassee, and Miami's looked very good through the first 4 weeks. They look like a college football playoff team, potential national title team. Carson Beck, former Georgia quarterback, has been playing very well, gotten back to the level that he was at seemingly so far over the 2 years ago when he was at Georgia. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts here on this one because, again, a tough 4.5 spread, right? Like this big rivalry game, a lot on the line for both of these teams. So what are your thoughts on this one?
That's actually what I was looking up while I was looking at my phone. I was trying to see where that game was going to be played, whether it be Hard Rock or in Tallahassee. And with it being in Tallahassee, I like the Noles in this game in the upset. I do think Florida State gets the win based off of the crowd and the Seminole chant going on and on and on. I think that fuels the Costello, the quarterback there for Florida State, and I really like the addition of Gus Malzahn there at Florida State, and I think Miami gets its first loss of the season.
All right. I love that, man. Hey, another upset. Florida State gets upset last week. They get an upset this week against Miami, and hey, it's a rivalry game, right? Number 3, that doesn't mean a whole lot. Throw it out the window. You got them at home. It's time to make a statement if you're FSU. And if they win this game, a top 5 game at home, even with the loss last week to UVA, that was just a crazy game. Yes. But Friday night, UVA was they needed a win like that. I think that if FSU wins this game, I think you really can say, hey, they're back. Last week was an anomaly, and they're a real college football playoff contender.
All right, and guys, do y'all want my bold prediction before we get out of here?
Absolutely.
We do, and then we want your biscuit pick after that, and then we'll let you go.
Missouri beats Alabama in week number 7.
Whoa, baby.
All right.
Okay,
all right.
You're believing in the Missouri Tigers, huh?
I am. I really do. I think they're phenomenal, and I think the early kickoff, it's 11 a.m. kick in Como on the road. Look out for sleepy Missouri, flying really slow under the radar. Nobody's talking about them. They will be after next week.
Wow.
All right.
Big stuff.
All right. Well, we'll clip that, and when it happens after week 7, we'll be sure to blast it on social media and give you some credit there. Again, it's at Stephen Ray 30. So make sure you're following him on social media, listening to his show. I'm sure, Tide 100.9, that might be a controversial opinion to be sharing, but we appreciate, your boldness.
All right. And my biscuit, I'm going to have to go with Bojangles.
Oh, Bojangles, huh?
You like the Bowberry?
Hey.
Yes.
It's hard to go wrong. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Bojangles. Anytime I go through the Charlotte airport, from Texas back to Virginia, I got to get the Bojangles there. So, yeah, the chicken biscuit, the bow rounds, and the Bowberry biscuits, man, I'm all in. I love it. Cheerwine, too. Got to get a Cheerwine.
Yeah.
All right.
So, guys,
Awesome. Well,
look, man, I really enjoyed it. Thank y'all for having me. And you guys said that y'all are Texas A&M?
We are.
yeah.
We're both Aggie grads. Uh-huh.
All right, man. Well, I will leave you with this. Whoop, gig 'em. Let's go.
All right. We love it, Stingray.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, man.
All right.
Yep.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
man.
coming on.
All right. See ya.
Oh, we're muted. All right, we're back. Yep. Thank you to Stingray for coming on. We had a lot of fun with him. That was a good time.
Yep. Great guy, knows his stuff. And again, check him out on Tide 100.9 if you're in the Tuscaloosa area. That is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 to 7, and then Wednesday nights, 6:30 to 7:30.
Some interesting picks.
All right, I guess we did.
Some
I
interesting
know. Yeah,
picks.
interesting picks. He went with a few dogs. Florida, Vandy, Mississippi State, Florida State, who he just picked to win outright. They're a home dog by a couple points to Miami. So yeah, he's rolling with mostly dogs this week, except for Kentucky and Texas Tech, who he was high on, lock for the college football playoff. So yeah, good stuff there. Again, we'll give our picks tomorrow night, SEC After Dark. We've got the whole After Dark, network crew here with Offseason After Dark. Our friend Mike Huseman does a good job coming out on Tuesdays. Our show, of course, on Wednesdays. SEC After Dark on Thursdays. Bama After Dark with Jake Thomas Tuesday evenings. And then the regular guys pod, who they're trying to get to a regular schedule, but usually coming out with about one a week or bi-weekly. So be sure to check that out. Check out the show tomorrow with the whole crew giving our week 6 picks. But to close us out, we've got a Muschamp Coach of the Week and then a Biscuit of the Week. So if any of y'all are new, first, thanks for being here. Tell your friends, but we love the name Biscuits and SEC. We love Southern food, Southern culture, so we like to highlight a biscuit every week that we can. If you would like to be featured, send us a DM. Captain Biscuit, Rick, our good friend, sends us a bunch, so we appreciate that. We've had some great fan submissions over the last, year that we've been doing the show, including one this week, although he is a fan. He's a little bit close to the program, so this one came from our dad, who was down in Mobile this past week. Oh, gosh, yeah, sorry. I went from Muschamp to Biscuit.
We'll do the Muschamp after it.
Totally crossed my lines there. I was introing the Muschamp Coach of the Week and then started talking biscuits. But anyway, yeah, Biscuit of the Week. So this one came from our dad. He was down in Mobile. He goes down there for work quite a bit, so he's become well acquainted with the Gulf Coast down there, and he was checking out what looks like an awesome spot, Hummingbird Way Oyster Bar down in Mobile. They serve biscuits on a cast iron with whipped butter, dark cane syrup, and smoked sea salt. And obviously it's a seafood house, so you can kind of see the platter over here that you can get, oysters, biscuits, some sort of a pecan or pumpkin pie. I'm not even quite sure. Some scallops and it looks phenomenal. So for any of y'all in the Mobile, South Alabama, or if you vacation down there, head to the coast for some R&R. Be sure to check out Hummingbird Way Oyster Bar. It looks delicious.
Yeah, it looks unbelievable. I mean, I'm looking at the menu right now. Fried soft shell crab, fried rock shrimp. They got oysters on the half shell, fried crab claws, oyster bisque, Alabama blue crab cake. I mean, golly, yeah. I'm actually pretty frustrated. Our dad's name is John, and Johnny Biscuit here sent us this one. And when he sent us this biscuit, I was like, it would have been nice if you'd have taken us down there with you to try this. And now I'm looking at the menu like, you know what? Next time you're going to Mobile, just let me know, because I'll tell you what, I am going to be at the Hummingbird Way Oyster Bar for darn sure. And I might be a repeat customer based on what I'm seeing on the menu and what I'm looking at on my screen.
Yeah, I'm with you. So note to John.
That's right. Johnny Biscuit.
Johnny
Call
Biscuit. Yeah, give us a call. Take us down there next time. Man, our mom's been going down there with them enjoying this, but not us. So
Yeah.
what
Hey,
gives?
call your sons, man. We want to try this out.
Yeah. All right. So that's our biscuit of the week. Now over to our Muschamp coach of the week, which I already halfway introed, but this is an ode in honor to Coach Muschamp. We loved when he was a head coach in the league, his longtime defensive coordinator, his passion, his fire. His personality and his temperament is great in the SEC, and we miss having him around. So we started this award to honor him and give it, to the person or coach rather, who's kind of most deserving of that week. And you put this one together, so I will hand it off to you to give out the award.
We could have gone a couple different ways this week, and you mentioned it at one point during the show that Shane Beamer, with his Beamer ball comment, would have been a good one. Shane Beamer has won the Muschamp Coach of the Week award a couple times, the successor there at South Carolina to Coach Muschamp. But I felt like there was only really one way that we could go this week, and so here is our Muschamp Coach of the Week.
Sam Pittman celebrate being bowl eligible.
Well, I believe I'm going to have my own cold beer. That's kind of what I like to do,
Do you need any company?
Anybody want to come to bring some, you know what I mean?
BYLP, baby.
Which I asked you what the host of this party was going to be serving up today. What's the drink of choice tonight?
Well, I'm not promoting it, but I like some old cold beer. I think I'm going to have one. I'm not promoting it now.
Enjoy it, Coach Kirby.
That's your Muschamp Coach of the Week right there, Coach Sam Pittman, and with the John Party music and all those old cold beer and, bring them if you got them, all that stuff. He was a good man, and we're going to miss him around the SEC. So a lot of good moments there in Fayetteville for Coach Sam Pittman. Didn't end the way that he wanted it to. But in the spirit of Coach Muschamp, really loved his players, beloved by those who played for him. And so I think that it had to be Coach Pittman this week. Hopefully, I hope that he ends up on like the SEC network. I think he would be fantastic on TV, fantastic as an analyst. The guy's been around the SEC for a long time at multiple different programs, had some awesome moments there in Fayetteville. So Sam Pittman, Muschamp Coach of the Week.
Yep, definitely. Shout out to Sam Pittman. Well-deserved. Well, great. That will do it for us here tonight. Thanks for sticking around for a little bit of extra football. As we mentioned, we'll be on tomorrow, SEC After Dark. Be sure to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, sign up for the newsletter, link below. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see y'all next Wednesday night, same time, same place. Can't wait. Appreciate y'all.
See y'all tomorrow night. Thanks for joining us.